Hi everyone, I'm new here, and I'd like some input. My husband, 33, and I, 32 female, have been married for 3 years, together for 7. We don't have any kids, just the two of us. 4 days ago, everything blew up, and I'm still trying to make sense of what's happened and what's to come. A few months ago, I made the worst mistake of my life. I started messaging my ex from college, a relationship from over 10 years ago. At first, it was just casual catching up, but things escalated, and we ended up meeting in person. One thing led to another, and we ended up having sex. I regretted it immediately. I hated it and felt a huge wave of guilt wash over me. After that, I stopped contact with him, or at least tried to convince myself that I was done with it. For a few months, there was silence, but last week he reached out again. I'm currently on a personal journey, trying to work on myself and heal in other areas of my life. And I had promised myself I wouldn't respond to him, but I didn't listen to my better judgment. I replied, and we met up again only for a repeat of what happened before. Now everything has spiraled out of control. My ex's wife found our messages and told my husband. I didn't get a chance to come clean on my own. My husband found out from her, and then he told my entire family about what I did. Since then, he's been staying at his mom's place, and things have been really tense and painful. He hasn't said anything about divorce yet, but he's been very clear that things are going to change. He told me he's going to talk to other women and that I don't have a say in the matter. He's hurt and feels betrayed, and I know he wants to even the score and make me feel the same pain I caused him. I honestly can't blame him. I deserve it. I can tell he's filled with anger and hate towards me now, and I'm scared of what he might do next. I'm terrified that this experience is going to turn him into someone unrecognizable. Someone who is only focused on revenge and resentment. And while I know I deserve all the hurt coming my way, I'm scared it will destroy any chance of us repairing our relationship. I want to prove to him that I can change, that I can be better, but I'm not sure if he'll ever believe it or if it even matters at this point. I feel awful for all the pain I've caused, not just to him, but also to my ex's family. I've been struggling with intense anxiety, and I can't eat or sleep. I know I messed up terribly, and I want to make things right, but I'm so afraid of what's coming and how much worse it could get. I'm just looking for any advice on how to navigate this. I appreciate any support or insight anyone can offer. Thank you for taking the time to read this. Update 1. I've had a lot to think about since my last post, and there's more I need to get off my chest. I realized I left out some important details about how this whole mess with my ex started, and I want to be completely honest. When my ex first reached out, it was just to see how I was. I know it sounds naive, but I doubt he had any clue where we were heading any more than I did. He started sharing a lot about his life, and I found it interesting to hear about how much things had changed for him since we last spoke. I genuinely thought we could just be friends, and I was fascinated by the conversations. But looking back, I wish I had nipped it in the bud. Then he started giving me a lot of compliments, and I have to admit it now, I liked the attention. I told myself I didn't have feelings for him, and even told him that I wasn't interested in anything romantic or sexual, but I let the compliments continue. I should have put a stop to it right there, but instead, I indulged. I even replied with things like, "Aw, that's sweet," or called him cute and fun. I didn't realize at the time how much I was crossing the line. We ended up meeting twice after that and had sex, which I came to regret immediately. After those encounters, I felt so guilty and knew I needed to end it, so I cut off contact for a while. But then, a few months later, he reached out again, and I fell back into the same pattern, enjoying the compliments, letting things go further than they should, and pretending it was all harmless. When I reread those messages, I was hit with a wave of anxiety and guilt. Surprisingly, these days, husband doesn't seem as upset as I expected, but maybe he's just numb to it all after everything that's happened. I'm really struggling with accepting myself right now. It's one thing to make a mistake, but it's another to realize I let myself cross boundaries again and again. I'm questioning who I've been in this relationship and whether I'm even capable of being a good partner. I hate that I let myself fall into this trap and hurt my husband so deeply. I've had trouble forgiving myself for this affair. Maybe I'm not supposed to either. I'm starting to wonder if it would be better to let my husband go so he can find someone who will truly love and respect him the way he deserves. The guilt is overwhelming, and I'm terrified I'll never be able to make things right or be the partner he needs. I want to change and prove I'm better than this, but right now I'm not sure I even know who I am anymore. Any advice or support would be appreciated. I'm feeling so lost and unsure of what the right thing to do is. Does it ever get better? Do you ever find a way to accept yourself after making such terrible mistakes? Update 2. I don't know whether this is the right place for this. I ran into my ex at a place we frequented when we dates. He asked if he could join me, and although I was hesitant at first, he was so persistent that I gave in. I figured, what's the harm? We ended up sitting on a bench talking. I tried to make it clear that I didn't see a future with him, even if I were single, especially because I had issues with him having a child from his current marriage. The conversation was mostly awkward and filled with a lot of immature back and forth. Then out of nowhere, he asked if he could kiss me. I said no, but in a moment of weakness, I stupidly let him. I didn't think much of it at the time, but looking back, it was another poor decision on my part. I'm so disappointed in myself. After I got home, I started spiraling. I kept thinking about him and whether there could have been something more between us. Did he like me that much? Was there a possible future there? I ended up messaging him, asking what it was that happened between us and trying to clarify where we stood. He said that it was short-sighted on his part to do what he did, that he had a family and they're his priority, and that whatever it was between us needed to stop, basically putting all the blame on me. I felt overwhelmed and I blocked him everywhere. This triggered a whole new wave of depression, self-loathing, and anxiety. I started blaming myself for everything all over again. For not being good enough for my husband, for letting myself develop feelings for someone else, and for getting caught up in all this mess. Even amidst all this, I still couldn't stop thinking about the attention my ex gave me. Even though I knew it was wrong, I couldn't shake the feeling that maybe there was something there. So I tried to reach out again. That's when his wife found out for the second time and put an end to it. I know I need to focus on repairing things with my husband, but I'm finding it really hard to get my ex out of my head. The idea that he was willing to leave his wife and child for me, even though it's so wrong, keeps playing in my mind. I feel trapped between wanting to make things right with my husband and being haunted by all these what-ifs about my ex. My husband doesn't know about this latest encounter or that I briefly considered what life might be like with my ex. I even went to meet up with my ex again, but nothing substantial came of it, and now I'm left feeling even more confused and lost. I don't know what to do. Part of me wants to confess everything to my husband, but I'm terrified of how much more damage that could cause. Another part of me thinks I should just cut all ties with my ex once and for all and try to work on myself and my marriage, but I can't seem to get out of this cycle. Any advice would be greatly appreciated. I'm feeling so stuck and like I'm losing myself more and more every day. Final update. The last few days have been some of the hardest of my life. I wish I had a magical dagger to reverse time. I've been monumentally stupid and now I have consequences to show for it. One morning I woke up to a big envelope on the table. My husband told me to open it, and inside were divorce papers. I felt like the floor had been pulled out from under me. I went numb, almost blacked out. He told me he knew everything. I mean, everything. He said he had been logged into my Facebook on his laptop for who knows how long and had seen all the messages between me and my ex. From the very beginning, he was aware of everything from the very beginning and kept it to himself and watched me burn my world. He told me that my ex's wife is leaving him too, so if I want to be with my ex, the path is clear. But I wasn't even listening at that point. I felt faint, like my whole world was collapsing around me. I don't even know how I got through that moment. It was like my body was there, but my mind was somewhere else entirely. I ended up moving back to my parents' place last week, and I feel like a complete shell of a person. I've already signed the divorce papers, and the proceedings are set to start next week. I've spent the past few days in a cycle of denial, anger, and despair. Some days I scream into my pillow. Other days I isolate myself completely. Not a single day goes by without me ending up curled on the floor, sobbing until I can't breathe. Sometimes I just stare blankly at the wall for hours, unable to move or think until someone shakes me out of it. The pain feels like a physical weight crushing my chest. It's unbearable. I'm so angry at myself for how easily all of this could have been avoided. If only I had gone to therapy when things first started falling apart and never met with AP again. Maybe none of this would have happened. I could have dealt with my issues, faced the problems in my marriage, and avoided the lies, the cheating, the betrayal. I feel like punching myself for being so stupid and ignorant, for letting things get to this point. I can't believe I let it all implode like this. But I know what's done is done. I can't change the past. I can only move forward. By next week, court proceedings will start, and the life I imagined with my husband is gone forever. I need to accept that and drill it into my head. I have to move on and commit to never contacting him again, no matter how much I miss him or how badly I want to reach out. I've been saving up some money, and I plan to find a place of my own soon. Something small but enough to live on my terms. It might be a more modest lifestyle, but at least I won't be a burden on anyone. I'm going to keep going to therapy for as long as it takes, maybe even for the rest of my life if that's what it requires. I don't trust myself to be around others or to keep from falling back into my old patterns without professional help. I want to ensure I never end up in a situation like this again. From now on, I'm determined to make better choices and treat people with the kindness and respect they deserve. I've already started working on changing my mindset about relationships and people, and I'm committed to continuing that work. If only I had done that while I still had a husband.